Our next guest is sort of dovetailing and continuing the theme of innovation, is Professor Anat Lechner, who's going to sort of play with the idea of challenging the innovate or die theorem or challenge. So welcome to her. Thanks so much, Professor. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you. Hi, guys. A few minutes on innovate or die, which I think for many people, die is actually the option because it's so difficult to innovate, but not for us. I'm going to start us off on, this is a slide, I guess, or an idea that I've made, I want to say, 5 years ago, and I can't start any conversation without it at this point. It says this. It says that in the turns of the centuries, between the 19th and the 20th century, there were 95 of the people in America, they were farmers. So if you came to any one of them and you said, you know, in less than 100 years, only 5% of you, if lucky, will remain farmers, right? What do you think they'd say? Say, no way, right? Well, if you found two curious Joes and you said this to them, they'd say, out of curiosity, what would the other people do? You'd say, well, there'll be IT consultants, there'll be Jungian psychologists. So naturally, people couldn't envision something like this. And the reason I start a lot of conversations with these two Joes is I think this is us. We kind of look into the future, comfortably blind, having difficulties figuring out, you know, how to tackle problems and issues that are emerging. So I want to talk on three things very, very briefly. One is just one take on all the forces that kind of morph our world. And I singled four to kind of focus on. Second is this do or die innovation dilemma of how do we actually innovate, and we know the difficulty associated with that. And third is a point to be made on how good you are. And you're usually now as good as the ecosystem that you plugged yourself into. And so very, very quickly through those. It looks like there are four forces that converge now to do a lot of change across industries. You can look at the innovators. You can look at the consumer readiness to consume something differently. You can surely look at technology. You can look at the money that gets into industry, and especially how these four come together in the industry in which you play. So if you take a look at the innovators, we begin to see the emergence of innovation ecosystems around the world. This is one study, or not study, rather, a firm that congregates all the data on innovation that's happening from startups and puts it in the geographical location in which it happens. It so happened that there are some cities around the world that are so much more conducive for innovation activity because of the hub that they've developed there for conversations, for resources, for access to ideas. And so this is one of the emerging trends which is just growing and growing, and people have spoken about this before me. Then there is consumer readiness. We, the consumers of the world, would like everything to come to us at this point. We like entertainment to come to us. We surely like our Fresh Direct to come to us. We like medicine to come to us through telemedics and so on and so forth. And so the people who have started digitizing their businesses, and as you know, there is process with that and there is learning with that, over the years of developed capabilities where their consumers are much more ready to consume things digitally to a point where we're no longer interested in us solving the last mile. We prefer Amazon to solve it for us. So you look at the general kind of manifestations of businesses doing well. Those who become digeratis, according to this MIT study, are able to show different level revenue, able to show profitability, able to show higher level market valuation because their consumers support them on getting stuff digitally. The technology that's now playing is now grouped, interestingly, into three classes. One is intelligent. We'll speak about this in a second. This is AI and the like. Another is everything digital, we just referenced. The third one is mesh. We'll talk about this as well. The ability to take different technologies, put them together. You have a list of technologies, and you have some sort of a notion of how this progresses. If you take a deeper dive there, you can naturally speak on artificial intelligence, one of the most interesting forces that definitely change our lives. But one of the interesting definitions on artificial intelligence is to think about it as general purpose technology. A general purpose technology is a technology in a class of its own. It's coming in, and it's changing everything we know about life. We know the stories on the steam engine, but we also know the experience that we all went through once life became online. So all the people in the room have been through the internet revolution. And you kind of know what would have happened if you decided to pass on that one when it started 20-some years ago. ago. These are general purpose technologies. Artificial intelligence is one. And so today we're looking at artificial intelligence with a lot of ethical questions, social questions, of course, technological questions, but they are going to get resolved with time, as you can imagine. And if you don't jump on artificial intelligence today, only God knows where we will find you in a little while from now. Some of the people understanding this are governments, not just industries, not just entrepreneurs. So governments now are passing artificial technology strategies. Emmanuel Macron rolled out of his bed in May of last year, and instead of hitting his croissant first, rolled out or announced an artificial intelligence strategy. He did that in reference to Theresa May, who, as you know, has nothing else to do but thinking on artificial intelligence, and she too appointed a minister for that. So you get to see progress coming from government, which is really interesting. The fourth force is one that's relating to just how much money gets poured into industries now to support innovation, to support entrepreneurial activity, to support new technology. And the numbers there are really just growing, growing, growing. You can see the trend. But then if you take a deep dive into any single industry to see how these four forces are shaping the industry, you get to see healthcare, for instance, turning into self-care. So in healthcare, entrepreneurs, the number of, say, patents assigned to the healthcare industry between 2002 and 2016 is 40% of all patents. This is one of the manifestations of tremendous innovation in this industry. So you have innovators in the industry. You have consumers ready to consume everything digital. We don't want to go to the clinic. We want our homes to turn into a clinic. You have technology playing there, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, device economy, and so on and so forth. We all hear that. And of course, a lot of money in the industry. In fact, this is the industry that got most invested in 2018. The food industry is going through the same thing. You can talk about food 2.0 because of those same forces. So the four, I don't have time to take you into each story, but those four, the way innovation is happening in the industry, the way consumers are ready to consume things differently, the technology that's at play, and the money that is kind of shaping together, all of them morph the industry. So what do companies do in face of that? For one, they obviously have to innovate. We spoke about this today quite a bit. One of the manifestations of this is everything related to how much gets invested in industries in R&D. So, of course, we are mapping the people who are R&Ding their way through or innovating through a lot of R&D monies. You can get to see the list here. But what's interesting is the people who are considered innovative actually outperform the people who invest in R&D. So it's not a simple story to just say, let's just put money into R&D and everything will be fine, because that's not exactly the case. I'll need more than 2 minutes. So then when you look at what do companies do, Talia spoke on crowdsourcing as one option. Of course, we're trying to bring innovation from the outside. People are creating programs around innovation to then connect with the outside world. If it's through Spigot or Innocentive on crowdsourcing, if it's through creating hubs to bring people in to co-innovate with them. So you have some examples here. Challenge Up, as an example, is a company that's creating a platform where different companies that compete with one another can actually sit in the room together and co-innovate on problems that relate to those collaborations. So you have the natural kind of AT&T Foundry, BMW sitting there as a client, first investing in their innovators and promising to buy from them. People are doing all sorts of things to mobilize and motivate co-innovation. Then they also do internal programs within their companies to ask people to hack ideas, to generate ideas, chief to which is MasterCard, who decided to send their employees for 48 hours in a hotel room to co-innovate. So this is a new opportunity for people to get to know each other. In any case, one of the interesting things is we get to see that innovation within companies that is inducing entrepreneurship is not necessarily so successful, and 70 to 90% of these efforts, we know from studies, are failing. So why is that? One is because the innovation programs within companies are ill-structured. There is no program on how we will innovate. There is no strategy. It's anecdotal, it's sporadic, it's happening when it's happening, it doesn't happen when it doesn't. Not sufficient. Then it's not well-founded, so there's not enough money that companies are putting into their innovation programs. And so if you don't fund those efforts, of course, you're not going to get too far. And all of this is sitting under cultures that are actually promoting what we are calling incremental innovation or adjacent innovation. So within the space that you're already in, but not transformational one. Let me pause for a second. you cannot live in a world that is transforming itself and is morphing and react to it with incremental innovation. That's not going to cut it, right? It's not sufficient. So when you ask people, is your industry being disrupted? They'll say, yes, of course. Are you doing something about it? Not really, right? Because we don't really know. If you look at the innovation agendas of companies, here are their goals. Only goal number 2 of 5 is about generating something profoundly new. And if you do not generate something that is profoundly new, that is transformational, you will not be able to transform your own business. That's the takeaway here. Partially because there is a kind of a story that we all share that we need to listen to our clients, that we need to listen to our employees, and a lot of the incrementalism that we see is a result of innovation that's mobilized by we're saying to each other what we already know. So the 3 views that emerge on how people innovate effectively suggest that there are 3 conditions. 3 conditions. One is investment in disruptive technology or innovation. The idea that we are trying to challenge things, that we're trying to transform and not just incrementally move the dial. That's one. Second is what type of cross-company innovation culture exists. Is there a culture within the company that promotes innovation, that allows you to fail forward, IDEO style, and so on and so forth? Thirdly, is there ownership from the top? That CEOs are sitting there, or chief-level executives are sitting there and are saying, we are needing to really be bold and daring and Steve Jobs-like, right? And then there is something that's evolving over the past years, and it is the idea that you will be as good as the ecosystem that you plug yourself into. Echoes ideas that you heard earlier, we cannot go it alone. So when people now think of innovation above and beyond what has been done over the years, they're thinking, what ecosystem am I entering? Ecosystems have all sorts of benefits to them. They're pretty simple, pretty straightforward, especially if you strike the alliance and the relationship right. We can develop new ideas. We can expand entry to new markets and so on and so forth. So it's pretty clear why would people try to do it. And in fact, there are 3 type ecosystems that people now consider. One is ecosystem that's about ideas. So you'll take an innovative idea and you will scale it and you will roll back and you'll allow it to grow within the infrastructure that you have as a big company. Second is ecosystems that come to create those technology meshes, the ability to take technologies that are already established and put them together to generate a new value. Lastly is ecosystem that's constructed around the client need. So if you have a consumer in a smart home that needs to consume smart health, self-care health. They will need input that's coming from different type technologies and different type players, but they will all get constructed around that user's need. And so those 3 type ecosystems is what people are now building. So the net of all of this is there are a few forces that shape and reshape industries. Innovation has to be a response to that, but you have to think of innovation portfolio that is a little bit more bold than just incremental and adjacent. And one of the things that will help support that is the strategy around ecosystem that you can develop. Thank you very much.